So Christmas, right, is 4 days away. What are your plans? Do you have any plans other than, of course, coming to Christmas Mass, right? Maybe you're planning to spend Christmas with your family, your friends. Maybe you're planning to do something charitable, some sort of charitable work. But that being said, my guess is that there are very few of us, if any at all, who is planning to do something risky, something perhaps dangerous this Christmas. For example, is anybody here planning to go skydiving? Or maybe go snorkeling with the sharks, like in the Great Barrier Reef or something? Probably not, I would imagine, right? Because I think for most of us, Christmas and Christmas plans they're kind of associated with peace, with joy, right? Hope, goodwill, not something necessarily daring or risky. Yet the truth and story of Christmas, among other holy great things, is that in a way it is truly about courage. So in the gospel, the angel, right, appeared to Joseph and said, "Do not be afraid to take Mary, your wife, into your home." Right? The angel conveyed this message from God because that was what God was asking of Joseph. Right, to do something courageous, not only for his own good, but also for the good of the entire world. And so I don't think Joseph was thinking to himself necessarily for this Christmas this year, so to speak, right, there wasn't a Christmas until Jesus was born. Maybe I'll marry some woman who is pregnant, but she's pregnant with not my biological son. We'll deliver this baby miles away, from our home. And it's, the child's not going to be born in a hospital, not even in a bed, but in a stable, right, in a manger. And then as soon as the baby's born, we're going to then flee because the king, right, is trying to kill this child. It's going to be awesome, right? I don't think this was necessarily Joseph's plan. And so in this moment, Joseph is perhaps feeling like his life and his plans according to his own, will are kind of unraveling, right? How many of us here can kind of feel that same way? Joseph is going through the sometimes painful process of aligning his will to God's will, right? Because the woman, right, that he had planned to marry is pregnant again, not with his own biological son. And yet, because Joseph loves God and loves Mary so deeply, he didn't want to embarrass her, right? He didn't want to shame her or hurt her. And so Joseph went with a different plan, his own plan. Right, to break off this engagement, to divorce Mary quietly. Right, these were Joseph's plans, yet God's plans for Joseph were far, far greater than that. Right? God wanted more of Joseph. He wanted more for Joseph. But in order for Joseph to experience all the good things God planned for him, Joseph would have to put his faith, his trust in God. And that means to overcome, right, his fears, to be courageous. The line in scriptures, "Be not afraid," it's one of the most, one of the most commonly found scripture verses in all the entire Bible, right? But be not afraid doesn't necessarily mean, to live dangerously, to live rashly, like jumping off of cliffs into lakes or, breaking the speed limit laws. Nevertheless, being without fear doesn't mean living recklessly, right? Nor does it mean to not avoid any risk at all. Being without fear doesn't mean that we won't experience in our own lives from time to time hardship, suffering, difficult situations. But when we do, St. Joseph gives us all an example of living through these moments with courage, to entrust ourselves to God once again. Not that it wasn't scary, not that he thought it would somehow be easy, but because Joseph trusted God, especially in difficult circumstances. And so when Joseph awoke from his dream, right, Joseph courageously did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. Right? St. Joseph teaches us that the antidote for fear is love. Perfect love drives out all fear. And yet, there was something different, right, about Joseph's courage, his bravery. It wasn't just human courage, so to speak. Right? Joseph's courage in his actions transcended human courage because it came from this deep place of his love for Mary and his love for God. Joseph had the courage to take Mary as his wife because he already knew and found in his heart Emmanuel, right? God with us. And it is Jesus who is with all of us in our sufferings. It is Jesus who is with us in these difficult moments. He never abandons us. We're not alone. He is Emmanuel, right? God with us. Brothers and sisters, Christmas is about knowing, understanding, engaging, experiencing God's saving love. It's about seeing the promises of God to really be fulfilled, to come true in our own lives, in our own hearts. It means to pray as Jesus taught us to pray, right? Father, thy will be done. As we continue today, our final preparations for Christmas, right? There is still a few days to prepare. And so I'll ask you the same question that I asked at the beginning of the homily, right? What are your plans for this Christmas? Is anyone willing to do something courageous? Who will make a greater commitment to our loving God? Right? What plans in your life need to be more open to Jesus? What do you need to do to allow the love of Emmanuel touch your heart so that Jesus might be born anew this Christmas? Right? Do not be afraid to let Jesus grow deeper, stronger in your life. He is Emmanuel. And if God is with us, why would we ever need to be afraid?